Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the High Plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and just like an Earth, Wind, and Fire song, we are dancing in September here in the KNW studio because our show is back on the air, and we've got a good one for you. We've got John Friedel, the head coach of Greyhound men's soccer. We've got Kelly Lee, the head coach of Greyhound football. We've got Ryan and Brandon doing a high school spotlight. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Good start to the Josh Smith era of Greyhound women's soccer as they had a very satisfying 1-1 tie in their first match against highly regarded St. Mary's. They'll be in action tomorrow up in Colorado. Really good weekend for Greyhound volleyball. They went to the Hilltopper tournament in Austin, Texas. Came back with 2 victories, only 1 loss. And for fans of cross country and rodeo, you're going to have to cool your jets because they're not in action yet. Well, that is our Eastern recap, so we'll go to the set and we'll bring on our first guest, John Friedel of Greyhound men's soccer, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we welcome back to the set of Sportslook the first-year head coach of Greyhound men's soccer, John Friedel. And Coach, welcome back to Sportslook.
Thanks for having me.
For those individuals that didn't get a chance to see your debut last spring, what's the story that got you from beautiful Cedar Rapids, Iowa to Portales, New Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, had a couple successful years at Indian Hills Community College, and made a run at a national title. Came up a little short, but felt that we'd kind of taken that project as far as we could get it with what we had. And when I saw that the job at Eastern New Mexico was open, talked to a lot of colleagues that were more familiar with the area, and they said that it's a great place and has the right resources and what it needs to succeed. So the more I read up on it and the more I looked into the facilities and the city and the school itself, it was kind of a no-brainer that this is a great place to be.
You played on the high school level, you played collegiately, and from that point on, where did your soccer career go?
After college, playing at Western Illinois University, I played probably 5-6 years semi-professionally in the Premier Development League. Bounced around a few teams there, and then while I was doing that, I was also playing in the Professional Arena Soccer League, which is indoor, and played mostly in St. Louis there.
St. Louis, of course, for people that don't know the story of American soccer, has been a soccer hotbed for a long, long time.
Yeah, once upon a time, it was the Mecca,
In terms of becoming a coach, at what point in your life did you decide you wanted to be coach? Was it back in the day, or was it something that developed as you got into your 20s?
I think it was probably the first year out of college. It kind of became apparent. I started seeing some of my former teammates that had already they were done with their playing careers, and they were already looking at coaching and just kind of seeing what they were doing and how they were enjoying it and the success that they were having. And that's kind of what lit the fire into me to begin with, I think.
And you spent your time, you paid your dues, as the expression goes, as an assistant. Mm-hmm. How was it that you got the head job at Indian Hills Community College?
I spent 2 years at Alderson Broaddus University. Prior to that, I had 4 years at Maryville University in St. Louis, both D2 programs. And at AB, we had a lot of success turning that program around. And I think we were just to the point in my personal life, being married and having a daughter, it was time to start looking for the right opportunity. And, at the same time, I was interviewing a couple different places. I looked at another D2 assistant job, and then looked at the Indian Hills job. And once we kind of weighed the pros and cons, it's like, all right, it's time. I'm ready for it. So.
I actually gave a speech in Ottumwa, Iowa in May, and I apologized to the community. I said, we've stolen not only a head coach, but quite a few individuals from Indian Hills. You had a really good team there, and you brought quite a few of those guys with you.
Yeah, we got about 6 or 7 of them that have joined us here, and they're already making an immediate impact for us. So.
I had the opportunity to watch your first scrimmage. You scrimmaged Western Texas Community College. And then I got a chance to see a half of your match against Oklahoma Baptist. And kudos to you and your guys. You've come a long way in that short period of time.
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating to start the year. And it's what happens when you bring such a large class of guys. We had 22 new players this year, and anytime you do that, you're going to have, some delays getting guys eligible, and particularly with transfers, just making sure all your ducks are in a row and guys are academically cleared and waiting for the NCAA on the amateur side of things. It takes a little bit more time. So we were a little shorthanded against West Texas, but I think as the game went on, we kind of grew, and now that we're kind of getting closer to full strength here, I think you're right. It's come a long ways. So.
Well, we don't have to just talk about how far you've come. We actually have film of your match against Oklahoma Baptist. Our crew is out and filming it. So let's cue up the highlight reel and please walk us through it.
Sure. So this was early on in the game, and just had a defensive breakdown, but we had to start a freshman in goal, and he came up with a big save there and then covered his rebound. That's Logan Mears, and here he is again with a pretty straightforward save, but he makes it. That's when you're playing keeper. That's what you got to do. You got to make the saves you're supposed to make, and he did that. Had a couple chances to get forward, and I think they were high percentage chances throughout the game, and eventually, in the second half, we were able to make them count a little bit more, but early on, I think it was a back and forth game until we were able to get a grip of things. So here, this is one of our guys from Indian Hills, Gabriel Perez. He's from Brazil. He had a really strong freshman year with us at Hills, and he's already got 2 goals to start this season off. And he combines really well with Lucas Vaz. He's another newcomer. He's a sophomore. He spent his freshman year at Monroe College in New York. I don't think either one of those two are strikers, but just where we are with injuries and eligibility issues, we've been playing them up top, and they've done a really good job of scoring goals for us early on. They're dangerous players.
And that was their last chance to get the equalizer.
Yep. Like I said, we've got a young back line, mostly underclassmen, and I think on it would have been Sunday because of the reschedule. We started, a freshman in goal, 2 freshmen across the back, a sophomore across the back, and then we had a grad student that started in there. But beyond him, everybody's pretty green. So.
There's an expression in military history, which is one of the classes that I teach here at Eastern New Mexico University, that a battle plan is thrown out the window in the first 5 minutes of the battle. Mm-hmm. How have you changed what you expect to do, but how much of it is still what you expect to do that's still going on at this point in the season?
We early on we were kind of committed to our formation and how we wanted to play. We've been committed to a certain style. I think it's taking a little longer to get perfected in quite the way we want it. We want to possess the ball a little bit more, and right now we've just found our niche, just where we are with personnel, and it's just kind of happened this way. It's not something that we've wanted, but we've kind of become a little bit more of a counterattacking team where we'll absorb pressure a little bit more and then hit teams on the break. And some of that is just a product of how the games have gone. On Saturday we lost a player in the first half to a red card. Just a young guy that got kind of sucked into things and made a poor choice, and so out of necessity in that game, you kind of had to play on the break. But at times we were able to move the ball and combine pretty well, and but for the most part, that's how we want to play, and we want to get a little better at that so it can be a little bit more dominant throughout the game. But that piece may take a little while. It may evolve as the season comes along, but I don't think it's anything that we're in the short term going to say, okay, we're going to get away from possessing because we're just not good at it. When we get to that point, we'll keep, as we go here, we'll keep kind of focusing on trying to get better at that game by game, and eventually I think we'll see the finished product before the end of the season. So.
For right now, you're still playing non-conference opponents. As a matter of fact, a couple of matches in your near future in Colorado. But in terms of the conference, from what you've seen, from what you've heard so far, who are the teams to really keep your eye on in conference play?
Oh, right now Midwestern State's ranked number 2 in the nation. They're defending conference champions. To start the season, St. Ed's was, top 15. I think they were ranked 15th in the country. They've started off a little slow, so they bounced out, but St. Mary's had a huge result against the number 8 team in the country over the weekend, where they beat them 4-2, and now they're ranked, I think, 12th in the nation. So it's a tough conference for sure. West Texas is always up there. I think Texas A&M International was strong last year as well. So it'll be. There's no easy games at this level, and I think that's the biggest difference, that making the adjustment from junior college to NCAA is just that at the junior college level there's some elite teams that are probably capable of being the best teams in the country at the D2 level, but then you also have the have-nots at the JUCO level that it's almost like playing that game is a formality, and you really don't have that at the NCAA level. There's a lot more organization and discipline from team to team.
Coach, importantly, for people that didn't get a chance to see you against Oklahoma Baptist, when's the next time they'll be able to see you in the friendly confines of Portales, New Mexico?
We'll actually be on the road, 4 games in a row here, and then after that we'll be at home. And off the top of my head, I can't tell you that date.
As a coach, you just look ahead the next couple of matches. Yep. I totally get that. But we will point out that whenever you're in town, one of the best things about Greyhound soccer not only is that the beautiful sport, but absolutely free.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the success you've had so far. For people who missed the program last year, we are both Iowans, so I'd root for you anyway, but especially since you're from my home state of Iowa, wish you the best of luck, and go Greyhound soccer.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment for the program. So what we've got is we've got a high school spotlight. We've got a new crew. We've got Ryan and Brandon. So we'll cue up that segment right now.
Welcome back to a brand new year of High School Spotlight. We're your new hosts, Ryan Schroedor
and Brandon Warren.
Last week, we traveled over to Greyhound Stadium to catch the matchup between the Portales High School Rams and the St. Michael's High School Horsemen. Let's get to the highlights. The Rams came in with an 0-1 record, but were hoping to bounce back after a tough overtime loss to Hope in Week 1.
The Horsemen were also 0-1 coming into this game after suffering a tough Week 1 loss to the Taos Tigers.
In our first play, we see Portales quarterback Julian Urioste pitch it out to Romeo Gaboski, who will take it for the long run down the left sideline. He'll break a few tackles and make it all the way down to the 10-yard line for a 35-yard gain.
Julian Urioste in the shotgun for the Rams gets the snap, fakes the pass, does a neat little spin move before taking the ball himself, outrunning the defensive end, and easily going in for the touchdown. This was a 60-yard drive for the Rams on their first possession. That makes the score 7-0.
On this play, Urioste takes the snap and manages to hide the handoff to Jordan Garcia pretty well. Garcia busts up the middle and takes it down to the 10, but St. Mike's Luke Castandiak forces the fumble. The officials come in and split up the pile to see who's got it, but Garcia managed to stay on top of it and retain possession for the Rams.
On the 2-yard line, Urioste gets the snap, good spacing between the quarterback and the running back. Urioste pitches to Gaboski, and it's taken in for the score. Portales is doing a good job of getting on the scoreboard early in this one. The quarterback for the Horsemen, Dominic Morgan, gets the football, looking downfield at all his options before making a great throw over one defender and right into the hands of Brian Johnson.
On this play, quarterback Julian Urioste once again drops back to pass and throws it down the middle of the field to junior wide receiver Enrique Diaz to make it 1st and goal for the Rams on the 6-yard line, putting them in position to score once again.
Here we have Urioste scrambling out of the pocket on 4th down and throwing deep downfield to Jalen Allen, who's wide open in the end zone for the touchdown. Urioste is looking to throw on this play, but with the defenders bursting through the O-line, Jeremiah Jaquez comes down with the sack.
As you can see, this play from the Rams is busted from the start. Urioste tries to get away, but he ends up getting taken down by a stampede of horsemen led by Teo Reganold. On this play, the Horsemen are forced to punt. Returning the punt for Portales is Baylor Diaz. but he completely muffs it and gives it up to the Horseman for the Rams' only turnover of the game.
Morgan, in the shotgun for the Horseman, scrambles out of the pocket, is looking to throw deep and does, launching it into the end zone only for it to be picked off by number 7, Jordan Garcia. He takes off trying to get out of the end zone, which might not have been the smartest move.
On this play, Morgan hands the ball off to Sebastian Alcaraz, who will then hand it off to Brian Johnson for the reverse. This may have tricked the Ram defense, but it didn't get our cameraman. Johnson will run up the left sideline for the first down and then some.
St. Mike's throws in another quarterback, number 21, and he takes the snap, immediately staring down Brandon McAllister on the wheel route. But McAllister is immediately brought to the ground by the defense, making the final score 21-6, with Portales coming out on top in this one.
Thanks for watching High School Spotlight.
Before we send you back to Doc, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more photos, highlights, and updates.
Once again, I'm Ryan Schroedor.
And I'm Brandon Warren.
We'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Sportslook. Thanks to Ryan and Brandon for that look at the Portales Rams and St. Mike's. And we're going to stay with football, but we're going to raise it up a level to the collegiate ranks. We've got Kelly Lee, the head coach of Greyhound football. And Coach, thanks so much for being my guest.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Coach, for the second time in 3 years, the Greyhounds open up against a school in Missouri. And once again, that school in Missouri was pretty good.
Yeah, we keep scheduling those teams over there when they're not very good. Several years in advance. By the time we play them, they're really good programs. It was very similar to Southwest Baptist a few years ago, where they were coming off of a good year and had a lot of kids coming back. And you got to hand it to them. They played mistake-free football and they executed and made a lot of plays. They're a very good team, and we didn't quite handle the trip and respond the way we had hoped, and they made us pay for it.
The game started out with them kicking off, and obviously they didn't want you guys to return one to the house on the opening kickoff. They kicked it to Charles County, actually gave a pretty good field position. But then, unfortunately, first play from scrimmage, the ball just kind of got away.
Yeah, we had a good return, and then we came out, and they came out a defense we had never seen from them, or anyone else for that matter, kind of a hybrid type deal. And Wyatt deciphered it right at the line of scrimmage and got us in probably the best play we could. Read it, pitched it out, and our running back just took his eye off the ball. And he was going to have a big gain. I think that's probably, he saw that he was probably going to go for 30 or 40 yards more if he'd have broke a tackle. And then when he tried to fall on it, he missed, and then they recover, and they get excited and are able to punch it in. And that's kind of an auspicious start to the season in your first game.
And then when you guys get the ball back, you have a little bit of a drive. It stalls, you kick the ball away, and you pin them fairly deep in their territory. But to their credit, they put together a sustained drive.
Yeah, we actually came back and ran the very same play. And this time we got the pitch and went for about 30 or 40 yards, but we got called back to penalty. And we weren't able to overcome it and had a good punt, pinned them deep, and they came out and we were able to hold them from scoring, but they flipped the field position. We had them pinned deep, and then instead now we were pinned deep. And that's kind of the way it went back and forth for a drive or two. And then they were able to get another score.
From that point on, when you're down 14-0, there's only 3 more points that's going to be scored. And so I thought your defense figured some things out and stopped a pretty good offense from that point for the rest of the half.
Yeah, Dante Ure made a nice interception, and we forced him to punt. And I felt like we had a flow, but then Dante got hurt, wasn't able to come back in, and they were able to get their really good slot receiver matched up on his replacement a few times, and every time that they got him matched up one-on-one, he ran a nice route, and the quarterback put it on the money, and they hurt us, and that's to their credit for more than anything, the quarterback for finding that one-on-one matchup and exploiting it a little bit.
You were down 17-0 at halftime. What did you say to the kids in the locker room?
Well, we just kind of talked about ourselves, that we weren't playing Greyhound football, and we really needed to focus on doing the little things. I think we got behind, and we started pressing right away, and we had some people trying to do more than they needed to, and all we really needed to do was our job. And we came out, and unfortunately, to their credit again, I really felt good about our mindset, but they put together a really good drive. I think they converted maybe 3 third downs.
They did.
On that drive, and a really nice drive. Quarterback made some really good throws, and they scored and made it 24-0. which kind of, at that point, it changes the whole game because of the style of our offense. You know, we knew we had made some adjustments and could do some things, but how much time were we going to take off the clock doing them? And that became the kind of the issue of doing what we knew would work, opposed to pressing to try to get some big plays to see if we could get back in the game.
Many question marks going into the year because you did have quite a few new players.
Absolutely.
Obviously, one position we wanted to see in particular was Kamal Cass's
Sure,
replacement.
sure.
I thought Paul Terry played a really good game in replacement.
Yeah, he did. He ran hard and close to 100 yards. And he ran, the one thing I really liked about Paul in the game is several short yardage runs. He really ran hard in there and broke some tackles. And I thought he played well. In fact, he had, I think, 14 knockdowns in the blocking department. So he was our offensive player of the week. So that's nice to see when you're replacing a guy like Kamal to get that kind of production out of a kid stepping up.
Last year, you guys went 8-2, and I would swear 6 of those victories came down to just a couple of points. And a lot of times those points were supplied by Bailey Hale. Bailey no longer with the program,
Yeah.
so we had to have a new. I thought your new kicker was really good, both place kicking and punting.
Yeah, he did a really good job. I wish he got a few more chances to kick off and kick extra points. But, you know, I think he averaged 43 yards a punt, and we punted 7 times, which a lot more than we like to punt. But he did a great job. You know, he was actually an all-conference punter in this league 2 years ago as a redshirt freshman at Western New Mexico. And then
I thought his name was familiar.
Yeah, he actually, fact for you, he kicked the opening kickoff in Greyhound Stadium, but for the other team. But he was an all-conference punter in this league, and then he ended up the JUCO route. And, of course, they were trying to get him back, as was a few other people, but we got him back here. I think in part because he got to play in that great atmosphere that first game here, and we're hoping he'll do a great job for us.
The second half ends up with them scoring 14 points. You guys scored 14 points, so pretty much of a wash. But I really felt like every drive you figured things out, you were playing better. So if there is a silver lining to come out of the loss, I would think it would be that.
Yeah, the second half was definitely better. And I thought we responded to a few things. And offensively, I thought we really figured some stuff out. Like I said, I felt like we could really move the ball in the second half. It's just that once we got down 24, we had to try to take some shots and stuff. Obviously, we scored and went for non-sides, too, because just the nature, pretty early 10-minute mark. But the nature of our offense, if we don't get it then, we're just going to run out of possessions. Defensively, you know, we had one spot, we were rotating a couple guys, and at that spot we had some critical errors and kind of gave up 28 points at that position when they made costly mistakes. So that's something we got to shore up, you know. But I didn't think it was a whole collective thing. It was one or two guys here or there making mistakes, and we got to gel. And we're not the kind of team that can make that many mistakes and win on the road against a good team like Missouri S&T.
Coach, the good news is that game already in the rearview mirror, and we're looking forward. But we're looking forward to a game against the defending champs in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. What's the scoop on Colorado Mesa?
Great program. Been 9-2 in the regular season the last 3 years. 1 year they were 9-3 because they made the NCAA playoffs. Have been the outright or co-champ of the Rocky Mountain Athletic for the last 3 years. A lot of people think of CSU Pueblo when they think because they made that run and won the national championship, but Mesa's kind of had their number and is actually the team that's been winning the Rocky Mountain Athletic recently. So it got a lot of tradition. They're a little similar like us in that they graduated a lot of really key players and just a big number. I think they had 27, 28 seniors like we did. So similar. They got their quarterback back like we do, who was a all-region player last year and the preseason RMAC player of the year. Very dynamic guy. He was their leading rusher last year as well as their passer. Very poised kid. Really, they were down 17-0 in their opener, and really he rallied them for comeback when they scored 2 touchdowns in the last, I think, 5 minutes of the game. And he kind of took it upon himself, ran around, and he's got a really strong arm. We saw him make some throws that you're going to have to, when he starts running around, you're going to have to stay on your man because he can stop and throw it all the way back across the field and put it on the money.
What sort of a formation are they going to run out of primarily?
They're kind of a multiple. I'd say they're a spread style, but they get in personnel with a tight end and 2 backs. You know, they're not just a wide open 4-wide type spread team, but they mix it up. They do a lot of different things. There's a little bit of West Coast element in there, a lot of RPOs, but they're a spread football zone read team, and they'll tempo you at times too. So they do a lot, and you got to be prepared for it. Very intelligent football team about their business.
Coach, I know I will do myself good in the Lee household if I mention something that your wife would like me to mention. The fact that we're bringing back a tradition, the Victory Bell is going to be coming back, and we're actually going to start the dog walk.
Yeah, that was compliments of Danny Woodward, Woody's Jewelry, and I think Steve Dorr. And those guys, they got it, and they refurbished it and painted it up and reworked the brakes on the trailer and those things. And so now they're going to kind of set it over there by the dog walk and have it kind of to ring to let people that are tailgating and everyone know that the dog walk's about to begin. And then as we come out, the players are going to ring the victory bell and try to bring a little of the old Blackwater draw element to our new stadium and create some new traditions and kind of piggyback on the old ones. So I think it should be an exciting thing, and we're very appreciate those guys getting it back and donating it back and getting some of those old legacies reunited in our new stadium.
Well, Coach, you won your first game last year at Greyhound Stadium. Let's hope that we can say the same thing this year in 2018.
Yeah, we got another ranked team, Mesa State number 25 in the country. So, Southwest Baptist was ranked, and we're playing at home. And we're actually, we figured out we're 8-1 at night games in the new stadium. So a lot of that has to do with the student body coming out, and it's an electric environment, and it should be exciting.
All right. Well, Kelly, thanks so much for being my guest.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment, so we'll clear the set, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. This summer, I picked up a new favorite NBA basketball team. I am now in all the way for the Toronto Raptors. Why? Did they pick up a new player? No, picked up a new head coach, a guy by the name of Nick Nurse. Name probably not going to mean much to you, but Nick Nurse led Carroll Kemper High School in Iowa to its only state championship in 1985. Carroll Kemper would be the alma mater of my lovely wife, Janine. Then he went to the University of Northern Iowa, helped UNI get a Missouri Valley championship. UNI would be where I met my lovely wife, Janine. So I am all in right now for Nick Nurse and the Toronto Raptors until the Toronto Raptors fire him like they fired his predecessor, Dwayne Casey. Well, that has been your overtime, and that will be an episode of Sportslook. I'd like to thank my guests, John Friedel and Kelly Lee. I'd like to thank Ryan and Brandon for the high school spotlight. I would like to thank Ryan for being my floor director. So for those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.
You can feel it in the streets. Feel like summer. Feel like summer.